Good morning and welcome to our presentation today. I'm Sue Hejadal and I'm the Executive Director of the Older Adult Centres Association of Ontario, the OACAO. And we're so pleased to be with you today presenting at the Social Prescribing Conference 2022 on our Links to Wellbeing Social Prescribing for Older Adults project, a pathway for increasing connections to local senior centres. The Links to Wellbeing Social Prescribing project aims to transform the way healthcare providers link older adults in Ontario to social and recreational opportunities to promote holistic health and well-being. The project is the result of a unique partnership between the Alliance for Healthier Communities, our host for the conference today, and the Older Adult Centres Association of Ontario, and it's powered by an anonymous donor. Our project's being developed collaboratively between the two organizations and our partner agencies. It's a 3-year project and began in April 2021. So we're about midway through our project at this point in building momentum. As you know, the Alliance for Healthier Communities is a network of over 100 community-governed, team-based healthcare primary healthcare organizations across Ontario, and they are our amazing partner in the Links to Wellbeing project. Before we move to our next slide, I would like to introduce and acknowledge our Links to Wellbeing project team who are leading the workshop with me today. I'd like to introduce Dina Silverberg, our project coordinator from the Links to Wellbeing project, and Pat Spadafora, our project consultant from Kaleidoscope Consulting. I would also like to quickly acknowledge that we have an amazing Links to Wellbeing Advisory Committee that support the project as well. And the advisory committee is made up of OACAO members, so Seniors Active Living Centres, and Alliance members, Community Health Centres. And they are actively engaged in our project and social prescribing in their own communities. If we have any members of our advisory committee in our Zoom room today, I hope you'll pop your name and organization into the chat box. Next slide, please. So here's our topics for today. I just told you a little bit about the Links to Wellbeing project, and you'll hear a bit more about it. Also want to share our successes, challenges, and some program outputs, early program outputs, the benefits to social prescribing as seen through the eyes of healthcare providers, staff and volunteers and participants from Seniors Active Living Centres through a brand new video that we just launched this week and are so excited to share with you at the end of our presentation, and then a little bit about how you can get involved. And to the next slide, please. The OACAO, the Older Adult Centres Association, is a recognized leader in the development of quality services, resources, and support for our network of community-based older adult centres, and we're the voice of older adult centres and seniors active living centres across Ontario, providing advocacy, education, networking, and resources to support our growing network of well over 220 community-based older adult centres and senior serving organizations across Ontario. And before I hand it over to Dina, I encourage you to use the chat box, chat your thoughts, put your thoughts there, questions, and hopefully we'll have a bit of time to address them. Over to you, Dina.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for the warm introduction, Sue. So the links to, next slide, please, Pat. So the Links to Wellbeing project, the overall purpose is to support older adults who might face negative health impacts from social isolation and a lack of or limited connections to social and recreational opportunities. And we've seen a dramatic increase in this over the past 2.5 years due to COVID and the recent pandemic. Next slide, please. So Senior Active Living Centers, why SALCs for social prescribing? And I chose this picture because it demonstrates the uniqueness of Senior Active Living Centers. And we like to say, if you've been to one Senior Active Living Center, then you've been to one Senior Active Living Center. The beauty of SALCs is that they are all distinctive in their programming, geography, and people. Each Senior Active Living Center is unique to their community and offer different types of programs and services. And the beauty of it is you can join as many as you like as well within your area. And each social prescription is special and unique to the older adult. So everything is tailored to that individual. Next slide, please. So some of the successes of our project is that older adults have choice in how they participate in programming. The beauty of the Senior Active Living Centers across the provinces is that they pivot into virtual programming during the pandemic, and most centers are maintaining a hybrid model. So they offer an opportunity for both virtual programming, telephone-based programming through the Senior Centers Without Walls, which you'll hear about after our session, and in-person programs. And they offer a hybrid approach. So people can take a virtual program, say for a fitness class, and maybe they want to come in for a coffee and chat. The older adults have the opportunity to choose what works best for them. Another success has been leveraging non-traditional referral source pathways. For example, we've had great success in Sudbury with our community paramedics who have providing social prescriptions to senior active living centers in that area. Another success has been the development and implementation of comprehensive toolkits for both staff and volunteers. We've also designed specific training for what we call the designated center staff. That is the person most responsible from the staff side for the training and the project, and a volunteer link ambassador training, which is specific to the volunteers. And there's also a large variety of resources and materials available to each center, as well as myself and Pat and Sue at any time. Another success has been making connection with new members. A lot of senior active living centers suffered quite, the membership hit during COVID and the numbers went down, and senior adults were not interested in returning to centers. With this project, there's been recruitment of new volunteers, new life into the centers after a difficult 2.5 years. And another success is we've really covered quite a large geography. We have over 35 organizations and municipalities now, representing over 50 locations. We now have centers participating in both English and in French, and all over the province. So we have programs in Muskoka, Ottawa, Midland, Toronto, Pickering, Sudbury, Windsor, Pembroke, and Guelph, and other areas across the province. And each center, as I mentioned, very unique to their programs, which is also a success. Next slide, please. So unfortunately, with successes, there are challenges. And with the COVID-19 pandemic, and as we roll into flu season, some centers are still struggling to recruit and engage qualified volunteers. A lot of older adults are still not comfortable returning in person to centers. And a lot of centers are still experiencing staff shortages and the impact capacity to reach out to healthcare partners, because there is an outreach component. We do support outreach, but we recognize the CELCs do have unique communities and do have unique opportunities for primary care providers to refer to their centers. Another challenge has been that most centers were closed to in-person programming for 2 years and have only started to reopen their programming this fall. And they were trying to rebuild their membership with the new processes in place. And it's a challenge based on the number of things they have to do in order to get their programs operating in person. Technology and resources, especially in rural areas, we do hear from centers that have limited capacity, that where there's no internet connection, they may not have telephones. How do we negotiate around those issues when people have access, can't get access to a phone or the internet? We still have some hesitancy among clients to join in-person programming, people who are still not comfortable, because some centers have mandates for masks, some do not. So it's really individualized. And a challenge is still referrals from overloaded health partners, because the focus is still on vaccination and catching up with patient issues. And now we're also moving into flu season. Next slide, please. So we did do a wrap up after the end of our first year of evaluation of the project. And we do evaluations at set times throughout the year, because we are using this information back up to our funder, as well as to belay to future opportunities, because we recognize this is not only a 3-year project. So from our first year outputs, 37.5% of our referrals to the social prescribing project came from community health centers. 16.1% came from family health team referrals. The largest group came from other types of healthcare providers. 46.4% came from other. We've had a lot of support from nurse practitioners, from solo physicians, physiotherapists, social worker, community paramedics, dietitians. And the number one reason for referral, because we do ask on the referral form, are you being referred for isolation, depression, loneliness? The number one reason for referral was loneliness, followed by isolation. Next slide, please. And the program outputs year one by gender. We are looking to see who is being referred and how to best serve these clients. And 55.9% of the first year clients identified as female, 44.1% identified as male, and 0% identified as other, but we anticipate those numbers changing next year as we have included a number of new centers. Next slide, please. And program outputs, year one living arrangements, and this is not a surprise to us, but 67.6% identified as living alone. Most of our clients, almost 70% of them, are living alone, so they do have a higher risk for isolation and loneliness. And 32.4% identified as living with others. So that also demonstrates that just because you live with someone, that you still could be lonely, you still could be isolated, and we have to reach all of these clients. Next slide, please. And now I'm going to turn it over to Pat. Thank you so much, Pat.
Thanks. Just had a little trouble there unmuting myself. Can you hear me now? Excellent. Thanks, Dina, and thank you, Sue. It's a pleasure to be with everyone today. Just one comment, Dina, on the outputs that you shared with us. I had a conversation with Sue yesterday, and we were talking about the fact that traditionally we tend to see more women participating in activities at centers. And so it's very encouraging with the year one data to see that about 44% were men. So it's really good to see men getting involved in the programs. As you mentioned earlier, Dina, the centers are all different. They're very unique across the province, and they offer different types of activities at each center. So this again is from the year one data set, and shows you the preferred activities at that point in time. Not surprisingly, social activities were the highest, 47.1%. No surprise when you realize that the primary reason for referral was loneliness, followed by social isolation. Physical activities was also pretty high, 35.3%. Arts and crafts, 23.5%. Educational activities, 26.5%. Health and wellness, 14.7%. Dining and food activities, 26.5%. I want to find out what's in the other category because that's pretty big too. On the right, my right side of the screen, I want to introduce you to George. I had the lovely pleasure of meeting George a few weeks ago when we were filming the video that Sue referenced. And George represents an individual who's very involved in these activities. At the center that he goes to, he participates in line dancing, yoga, and exercise classes. And you can see George participating in the exercise class here. You're going to meet him in just a couple of minutes. In terms of outreach and support, I think one of the great successes really has been that we've been able to develop so many opportunities for staff, volunteers, and board members of participating seniors active living centers to really get the support that they require. So we have, as Dina mentioned, developed training, specialized materials that are available for the seniors active living centers. That could include support program materials. It could include any additional information, prescription pads, referral forms, intake forms. And what I really love about this project is this has all been co-designed, and the advisory committee that Sue referenced has been instrumental in providing feedback to us along the way, as have the participating centers. So if you were to look at our year two toolkit, you would see that there are substantial differences from year one, where we've streamlined processes and really taken into account the feedback from the various sessions, or the various centers rather. We have opportunities for one-to-one training that Dina provides. We have group sessions as well. There are opportunities for participating in both the Ontario Social Prescribing Community of Practice and the Canadian one. And both of those communities practice we have co-created with the Alliance for Healthier Communities, and they are deliverables of this particular 3-year project. We do have monthly check-in meetings, and that is a time for participating centers to bring questions, successes, ideas. It's just wonderful. And we haven't missed a month, I don't believe, since the project started. One thing we've introduced that's a little bit new, we've only had 2 so far, is that we've introduced what we're calling social prescribing conversation cafes. And those are really designed for people who want to take a deeper dive, if I can call it that, into social prescribing, whether that's looking at the research, whether it's looking at specific types of social prescribing. Our last one in September, for example, featured Dr. Melissa Lem from BC, who talked about parks prescriptions in Canada. And so that's been something that we've added in year 2. And we also have occasional joint meetings that feature both the OACAO, the centers, the Alliance for Healthier Communities, and the community health centers. Another co-creation with the Alliance has been this wonderful social prescribing quilt. We can put an active link perhaps into the chat box, but I love this idea of a tapestry, of a community weaving stories together. And I believe everyone on the call today will recognize the power of stories. So if you go to this quilt at www.socialprescribingquilt.com, you will be able to click on wonderful stories from healthcare providers, clients, volunteers, staff, each sharing their experience in social prescribing and the impact it has had. You will also find there a lovely interactive map that you can click on, and that will show you the community health centers and the seniors active living centers that are currently involved in the project. So for those of you in our group today, you'll be able to go there and find the CHC and the SALT that's closest to your community. And now the moment you've all been waiting for, Sue mentioned our brand new video that just was launched this week. The only preamble I will give you to this is to mention that what we wanted to do was provide yet one more tool in that toolbox that has been referenced this morning. One of the challenges, and I heard it in the plenary session this morning, is always engaging the primary healthcare community because they're so busy as well. We're really keen to make those links and support the centers. So this is the video that we've added to the toolbox, and hope you enjoy it. Sit back and relax. What I don't know for sure, I'm talking to the tech crew here, is how well the sound will come out. So I may need a little help here. Can you hear it?
Pat, did you check the
A lot of
box?
my patients
Oh, yes.
were
Pardon? You can hear it? Okay, thank you.
widows or widowers and lived alone. So I have been referring to the local adult center for a number of years now because both mentally and physically they have things to offer.
I was referred here by my nurse practitioner. Since I'm relatively new to the area and we had the pandemic, I basically was lost because it's just like dropping me into a new environment, not knowing anyone.
Social prescription is a holistic approach to healthcare, and it bridges the gap between clinical and social care. It provides like a nice pathway for primary care providers to link their patients to local community resources.
When they mentioned that they had line dancing on the schedule, I knew that was going to be my thing. I love the line dancing, and you know, when I leave here, it's like I'm kind of walking on a cloud because it's just a very pleasant experience.
When somebody comes through the social prescribing program, they are welcomed by the volunteer link ambassador, and this helps alleviate the stress of coming into a center by themselves, not knowing anybody.
You don't have to be lonely and isolated socially. There's resources and activities that a person can get involved with.
Community is phenomenal. And I mean, I can say forever, I'm alive because of people from the community.
We have about 60 weekly programs, everything from pickleball and badminton to writing group and choir.
I try to connect them with programs that I think, you know, would be appropriate for like physical health and mental health.
It's benefited me because I'm new here. And it's a really good way for me to get out and get more involved with the community.
Social prescribing really helps engage people, get people involved with others. And those kind of symptoms that they're coming into healthcare providers with are improved without medication or other types of medical intervention. We are hoping to develop new partnerships within the community to open the world up to socialization to those clients who really could use it.
In a review of health service usage, where social prescribing schemes were implemented, there was a significant reduction in GP appointments, on-plan admissions to institutions, and a reduction in prescriptions. It's an awesome service, and it's just something that family doctors have to get into.
If a doctor feels that somebody is lonely and needing social prescriptions, recreation centers are the perfect place to be.
Social prescribing is an excellent avenue for helping our community stay active, stay involved, and for both physical and mental health.
Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the video, and on behalf of Sue and Dina, thank you very much for participating in our session today. There's information on this final slide that you can contact either Sue or Dina if you want to become involved in the Links to Wellbeing project as a center, or if you want to make referrals to the project. So I think we have, I'm trying to be mindful of your time. It's about 7 minutes to noon. We have time, I think, Sue and Dina, for a few questions if there are any.
Yes, and I'd also acknowledge that Natasha Bodin is in the room with us. Natasha's in the room, and she's our project co-lead. So Natasha, why don't you take your, put your camera on and be a part of our presentation, because we couldn't do it without you. And she loves pickleball.
She does she? Any comments or questions? I see there's lots of comments in the chat. I don't know whether anyone has been monitoring those.
Yes, I've been answering a couple of them.
Okay.
I answered a few too, but we may have missed one because I know there was unfortunately, I think there was a little bit, the video was a little glitchy, but that's okay. We can send it out afterwards.
Mm-hmm. I see Beth's comments. Social workers have definitely been among the professions that have been referring clients to the project. So they definitely fit in.
I believe the recording will be available.
There's a question about how to draw on reluctant seniors. I've had a few clients say, oh, these are just for old people. The client is 80. Honestly, that we've had a lot of it's really independent of the centers, and we always tell it this is always individualized, and you know what, you can't base anything on age. Their programs are usually 55 plus, so we try to say, you know what, don't look at who's around you, look at what you want to do as a person, and then the people will come. And
maybe I could just say something really quickly too. Sometimes it takes multiple conversations with an individual and them getting to know Dina, getting to know the person and sort of building a relationship, and then, you know, saying, I will go over with you to the senior center. So I'll meet you there. They're going to do a tour for us. So sometimes it takes multiple conversations and starting with really baby steps. So maybe they're not going to be ready. Like, I'm ready for pickleball right now. Sign me up. But not everyone is. Not everyone is. So maybe starting with a coffee drop-in, just starting small and building up. But I really want to leave these three competent ladies on the stage. I'm going to go back into the audience because I think you have all the answers. I don't know.
Well, thanks, Natasha.
Sorry, I
Thanks
have
for the
I have
question.
another message as well. Oops, oh my God, this is going so quickly. There was another private message. Amira has raised her hand. I'm curious about the preferences of seniors belonging to racialized communities. Do referrals and engagements need to be tailored for language needs, assurance of confidentiality? Other concerns also, does immigration status play a role? Who accesses the services? And anyone can access the Senior Active Living Center. There is subsidies available to clients as well, depending on, how they identify themselves to the healthcare provider. We are offering programs in English and French overall, but there is centers that do tailor, that have specific language needs. We have centers in Toronto and in Ottawa, for example, that service a Mandarin and Cantonese population. We have one that's servicing Ukrainian seniors in Toronto. So it really depends, but the referrals can be tailored. So if you do have specific questions about making a referral, please reach out to me and I can help you link up to appropriate centers.
Here's a question for you, Dina. How do the Seniors Active Living Centers receive referrals from different sources aside from the community paramedicine programs? What other unique referral sources are there?
So every Senior Active Living Center that's part of the project receives there's referral forms, as well as people who are part of the community health centers are able to refer directly to the Senior Active Living Centers. We also design prescription pads. So each center is able to give them out to different healthcare providers. If they've got a pharmacy across the street, they've got a family health team that's able to refer, and they're able to share those referral forms with multiple partners, as many as they like.
We've got our number of our SALC partners in the room. If you want to even add in the chat box your different sources of referrals, that would really help. And I'm going to read a next comment from Elizabeth because I love this. This reminds primary care to shift their thinking away from pharmacological approaches to be person-centered. Seek the assets in the community. So much out there to support people. Thank you, Elizabeth. You're right. The Seniors Active Living Centers are community assets and sometimes hidden gems in their communities. So we're trying to do more outreach, get the word out there. Anyone there that you want to address, Dina?
Yeah, Carrie added in referral sources, paramedics, York Region Police, social workers, public health. And there was a new question. Are there any services or supports available for seniors who have felt isolated for some time and worry about their confidence in groups, as well as social skills? This seems to be a barrier for some seniors to be able to take the next step in making the connections they wish to make. That's a great question. And we do have some centers that are doing programs in the community health center before they switch over. So whoever their primary care providers are, they're able to meet with them in a space that's comfortable for them and then work their way over. And really, if there is a senior who is interested in the project, but they would like to meet up with somebody, the centers have volunteers, the volunteer link ambassadors, and there's people that will help with them one-on-one and help them like a peer support to guide them through their program and be a buddy for them in the center. Centers are very supportive of bringing new people in and will do everything they can to make people comfortable.
Thanks, Dina, and thanks.
Sorry, just going to point out, you might want to check the chat for referral sources. I saw that Jolene, who's one of our video stars today, mentioned CMHA. I know we've had hospital discharge planners, and Alicia, another one of our video stars, has commented on some of the referrals that they receive at Life After 50 in Windsor.
Yeah.
And one of the other wonderful parts of our project that came up in our networking session this morning are our volunteer link ambassadors, the peer-to-peer support that come along with the project. It really can encourage that older adult to make the step forward and join the center and participate, because it can be quite unnerving to do that. I think we're at time. Any last comments?
I just have, sorry, I'm just kidding. There's one more. There was a question about how the SALCs receive those referral forms, prescription pads. So any senior active living center that has, as part of the project, receives the referral forms from me. There's a Google Drive. I send out hard copies and the prescription pads, and then they do the outreach. But it's not all senior centers across the province just yet. It's all those who are involved in the project. But Kay, if you have a specific one, and again, anybody, I'll put my email in the chat. Please reach out to me. I'm happy to connect the dots for you.
We have a sign-up project and onboarding. We have a letter of agreement. We go over training. We have lots of resources, and we've got room for you. So reach out to Dina. We want you. We need you. And thank you for all of our SALCs and OACAO amazing members that are here today. And thanks for doing the good work. And now we can hand it over to
Thank you,
the other
everyone.
group. Yes, thanks, Pat and Dina.
Thank you.
Hey, Lisa.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lisa Swant. I am the director of the Senior Center Without Walls expansion team at the Good Companion Senior Center here in Ottawa. Happy to see so many people on this call today. It's really exciting to have an opportunity to come to this event and to speak a bit about the Senior Center Without Walls program and how it works to reach out to those clients and participants who have challenges coming into our centers to experience programming. I'm part of a specialized team that's helping organizations across Ontario and Atlantic Canada grow and expand their Senior Center Without Walls program. And I'm joined by my colleague, Carrie, who will introduce herself in a minute. And before we jump in, I just wondered how many of you on the call today have heard about Senior Center Without Walls program or are running your own Senior Center Without Walls program? I wonder if you would all just take a moment to use the reaction button and put a hand up if you're familiar with your program. It'll give us an idea of where we're starting from today. Awesome. Senior Center Without Walls programs are delivered in many different ways. So they aren't always called Senior Center Without Walls. They are group phone-based programs to reach out to isolated seniors. So you may hear of it in many different ways. Awesome. So how does it work? So as I mentioned, it's a phone-based program. So organizations are offering a variety of programs to their clients, which they access through a local phone number. And they type in a passcode and are given direct access to the program facilitator and the other participants on the call. What kind of programs are offered? Well, just as the name suggests, Senior Center Without Walls is designed to offer any of the types of programs that a client might experience by coming into a center. So we've seen fun facts, meditation, book chats, birthday parties, lots of health and wellness, art, music, education, guest speakers, you name it, it's all possible to do over the phone. Why the phone? For those of our clients who have barriers to accessing in-person programs, that might look like mobility issues, health issues. In some communities, access to transportation is certainly a challenge. And there's lots of other factors that might be impacting social isolation. In the last 2 years during COVID, we've heard lots about virtual programming, and I know centers have tried to leverage virtual programming, and it's certainly a great asset. But as we know, many of our clients might have difficulty accessing virtual, either because they don't have a computer or they don't have access to internet in their area, and there may be income impacts as well. So the great news is almost everyone has a phone and they know how to use it. It's really a great, no camera, no computer, easy way to access programming. So what does it mean to clients? Carrie, can you talk a little bit about what clients are experiencing through the program?
I'd be happy to. So thank you, Lisa. As she said, my name's Carrie. I am with the town of Aurora, and we've been running Senior Center Without Walls since March of 2019. And we feel incredibly fortunate that we had this in place before the pandemic. So recently we did a survey, and I'd like to open what I'm going to talk about with benefits as a quote from one of our members. Her name is Sandy. She's in her 80s, and recently she lost the ability to drive. So when we asked them, could you tell us a little bit about what the program means? What Sandy said to us is, I love all that is offered by this amazing program. through Zoom and the phone. So we offer it in both channels and people can pick what they prefer. I look forward to being included anytime in my day. And the only thing that would make it better would be more. So, it's funny, we did this survey because we wanted, tactile information and data. And, what we really ended up getting was all the feels and tears. So we consider ourselves very fortunate. When participants talk about benefits, what they tell us is for them, it's no special equipment. Like Lisa was saying, it's just the phone. The slight difference we do in Aurora, we have several members who have really bad arthritis. We call out to people. So they don't even have to dial the phone. They don't have to remember a passcode. They just have to pick up the phone, and there could be 30 of their friends waiting for them to say hello. Some of them have also noticed that they have less demand for transportation, which has lowered their daily living costs. They love the fact that it's free. And they've also stated an increased awareness of programs and services in their community. So for instance, we offer a wellness series that runs every November through March that focuses on things like healthy eating, managing their pain, meditation, and of course, November's Fall Prevention Month, which is pretty much our favorite month here at the Aurora Senior Center. They talk about how it reduces their loneliness. So while they may not be able to see people, they feel that connection, and they feel that connection with their peers. Recently, we had 2 people come into the center who were occasional Senior Center Without Wall participants. And one was talking in the lounge, and the other lady recognized her voice and went over and said, "Are you Sue? I think you're Sue. We've met on the phone." Again, teared up because I'm just that kind of girl. But how amazing is that? So Sue and Irene actually got to see each other for the first time, but they met on the phone, and they already felt connected, and they already felt like friends because really they were. We involve seniors in the planning. And because they're involved in the planning, and because they're connected, and because we do checkups on them, they feel like people care about them. Don't we all want that? It's so important. One other thing is that they find it keeps their brain active. And on some of the bluest days, the quote is that, they really feel like someone's there. CBC Radio at one point said that isolation and loneliness in seniors is becoming an epidemic. And Senior Center Without Walls is a really special way of decreasing that. I have one more quote. This is the one that had me at all the feels. And this one is actually from Irene, who is the lady that met her friend Sue. It says, "It's really made a big difference in my life. It has been really helpful. I started during COVID, and it helped cheer me up and helped me feel connected. It brought a community to me that I was lacking. I did not feel as isolated, and it gives me connection. This program allows me to do the things I wouldn't be able to do by virtue of being online and over the phone." Thank you. Back to you, Lisa.
Awesome. Thanks, Carrie, for sharing that. What we wanted to do today is to have you experience what a Senior Center Without Walls program might feel like. I was going to ask everyone to turn their cameras off, but I see we're kind of already there.
Perfect.
So, thanks for your comments to everyone who is doing a shout out to their individual program and the impact that their Senior Center Without Walls program has had in their community. Really appreciate that sharing. Okay, so I'm going to turn my camera off and throw things back to Carrie, who's going to run us through a Senior Center Without Walls trivia program. Then we'll come back before the session's over at 12:30, and we'll have some time to answer your questions. Okay, Carrie.
Thank you. So this will just be a few minutes. We always open with a silly joke, and I'm not going to torture you with my choice of jokes here. And I think half the time they laugh at our jokes because I'm so excited about them. So you know what I'm going to do too is I'm actually also going to turn my camera off because this is supposed to be a phone program. You don't need to see how animated I'm excited and I am. I want you to hear it. And that is the energy that takes us through the call. Now, if you're comfortable, I'm going to ask you to unmute your microphone. And the idea of this program is there is no pressure. I'm not going to point out and say, "Hey, Lisa, can you answer this question?" I'm going to deliver it to the group. So if you're comfortable to shout out the answer, I would love you to shout out the answer. If you get it wrong, that's okay. No one's going to know. It's over the phone. And I will always repeat that answer so everyone can hear it. So I'm going to shut my screen off. and we're going to get right into trivia. So friends, does anybody know what famous escape artist died on Halloween in 1926?
Harry Houdini.
Oh, you got that. It was Harry Houdini. And he started as a circus performer and vaudeville performer before he increased the difficulty of his acts to include shackles, handcuffs, and various locked containers. Can anybody finish this advertising slogan? Double your pleasure, double your fun with
Double mint gum.
Oh yeah, you got that with double mint gum. Good job. So in the 1960s, Wrigley started using the slogan commercials that also featured sets of twins. And I remembered that. I was born in the early 70s, and I remembered I wanted to be a twin so badly after seeing those commercials. So what well-known magazine annually announces a person of the year?
Time.
Yeah, Time magazine. The very first person, does anybody know who the very first person was that was announced? It was in 1927, to give you a hint. And it was Charles Lindbergh. The person, occasionally a group, of the year is generally chosen based on the amount of major news stories about them during the year. What famous queen ruled over Egypt from 51 to 30 BC?
Cleopatra.
Oh yeah, we got smart cookies on this call, don't we? You're right, it's Cleopatra. And ironically, she was not Egyptian. She was from Greece. With a final price tag of $44 million, the 1963 movie depicting the Nile Queen was the most expensive film ever made up to that point. Isn't that fun? Okay, what famous tenor's nickname is the King of the High Seas? Oh, did I stump you guys?
Michael Bublé?
No, it was
Pavarotti.
yes, it was
Pavarotti.
Pavarotti. I heard that in there. Very good. He gained that nickname from the purity of his voice in the high register. He studied opera while working as a teacher before making his operatic debut in 1961. Okay, we all love candy and it's getting close to lunchtime. So I expect you guys will know this one. What candy's slogan is melts in your mouth, not in your hands?
M&M's.
Oh, M&M's. Yes, we know that one. They were the first candy in space in the 1980s. They were chosen by the Space Shuttle astronauts to be included in their food supply on their mission. Okay, what color was the road that Dorothy traveled on to get to the Emerald City?
Yellow brick.
Oh yes, you guys know that one. Yellow. Dorothy. Does anyone know who played Dorothy?
Oh, Judy Garland.
Yes,
Judy Garland.
yes. Dorothy was played by Judy Garland. She goes to the Emerald City to see the wizard in hopes that he can help her return home to Kansas. Does anybody know the longest railway in the whole world? It is the
Siberian.
Yes, you got that, Rob. It's the Trans-Siberian Railway. It spans over 5,500 miles or 9,000 kilometers, and it's located in Russia.
Rob, I want you to be my partner tonight.
Pardon me?
Me too.
I want Rob as my partner.
I know, right? Rob, if we ever run trivia night here again, if you could come be my partner, I'd really appreciate that.
Sure. I just have a lot of useless information in my head.
Well, let me tell you, after running Senior Center Without Walls for a couple of years, the random trivia and small talk I can make at parties is pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, friends, we've got 4 more questions. Let's see if we can stump Rob this time. Ernest Hemingway's house in Key West, Florida is now a museum and home to many of what animal?
Whoa. Dogs?
No, it is cats.
Oh.
So there are currently around 60 polydactyl cats on the premises. And polydactyl means 6-toed.
and each one is named after a famous person. There's some useless trivia for your brain today. Okay, we've got three more questions. Barbasol, Gillette, and Burma are all types of what?
Shaving cream.
Yes, shaving cream. Burma Shave was a brushless shaving cream brand whose humorous rhyming roadside advertisements entertained travelers. What famous curly-haired child actor starred in movies like Bright Eyes and The Little Princess?
Shirley Temple.
Yes, that is Shirley Temple. Thank you. She was the highest grossing child star in history. Starting her career at the age of 3, she went on to a political career in 1969 when she represented the United States at the UN General Assembly. And last question before I turn my camera back on, what shape is a yield traffic sign?
Yellow.
That's right. So they are yellow and they are
color.
also a triangle. So yes, we are looking for a shape. Yield signs were officially adopted in 1954. And their purpose is to decrease collisions at intersections. So thank you for playing along. One question I often get is where on earth do we find our trivia? And I'd like to shout out to a couple places. So there is one that we swear by. It's called Activity Connection. And if you are a senior program at all and you haven't checked out this resource, I highly recommend it. It's about $100 US for a year subscription. It also serves our Senior Center in a Bag program that we send out. And I'm not sure we could manage Senior Center Without Walls without it. There's also an Australian company called Golden Carers, and that one's about $60 for the year. It's another 1-year subscription. They have the best jokes and short stories. We have a short story call that's really popular, and we highly recommend it. Lisa, are you still there, my friend?
I am here. Thanks,
Okay.
Carrie. I hope everyone enjoyed the opportunity to experience the program as our clients experience it. The real value to Senior Center Without Walls, I think, is meeting people where they're at as opposed to coming into the center. And, you know, you never know what to expect when you're on the other line, who's on the other end of the call. They might be just getting out of bed. They haven't done their hair and makeup for the day. They might be starting their first coffee. The program's really designed to meet people wherever they are. So I put it out to the group. Do you have any questions about Senior Center Without Walls programs? Maybe if you'd like to, we'll check the chat if anyone wants to jump in or raise their hand.
One thing I will say is we are more than happy to have anyone hop onto a call to see how it is. Some of our most popular calls are our chair exercise and chair fitness. And let me tell you, as a fitness instructor, it is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life is to properly cue a fitness class over the phone. So if any of you would like to join in, you are welcome to reach out, and we're always happy to have guests on the call with us.
That's great. Our role on the expansion team is to help programs across the province build or strengthen a senior centers program of your own. So if you would like to get more information on how we can help support you to start a program, or would like some help with resources, Carrie gave some great ones today. We have lots of free training, out-of-the-box resources. We have a whole network of organizations across the province running programs, and we would love to have you join us. Carrie, maybe we can put our contact information into the chat. And so that if anyone wants to reach out and have a chat with us, either on how we can help or Carrie's experience running a program in her area, we would love to chat with you. Any other questions today? Thanks for all of your great comments. I'm glad to hear everyone enjoyed this session. Yep, I'm going to take a minute and put my contact in.
I did pop a question in the chat just about technology for the oldest old. So my mother couldn't hold her phone for very long, and I'm just wondering, and her hearing is difficult, so the idea of turning it on speaker wouldn't work very well. So I just wonder if there's suggestions for that. Thanks.
Carrie, any thoughts about using the phone system to help those who might have some challenges?
Yeah, you know, what we really found funny too at the beginning was for seniors who weren't used to holding the phone, it was very tiring for them. So that's part of the reason why we keep our programs to 30 minutes, especially those who are also isolated. 30 minutes of talking when they're not used to it is very hard. We have actually had some seniors buy iPad holders that they can put their phone, especially when it's this thing, a smartphone. Sorry, I can't talk today. Put a smartphone on it, or like a book holder or a recipe holder, and they can do it in there. And then other that, my apologies, really speakerphone is the best thing. We've explored the idea of some sort of closed captioning, but it doesn't keep up fast enough for trivia. So you're right, hearing is definitely the hardest challenge that we have on the calls. And yes, I will put, someone mentioned they would like me to put the name of those resources into that. And what I'll do is I'll actually go online and I'll get the links and I'll pop them right in.
Fantastic. Any other questions or comments? Or I know that there are other programs on the call. Is there anything you'd like to share in particular about your program? We've got a couple minutes.
Hi, I'm Nan. I'm also in Ottawa, so nice to meet you from Ottawa. I think what you're doing is so wonderful and phenomenal, because people forget that there's all kinds of technologies, right? Like paper pen was also one kind of technology, wheel was another, and so is the phone. And so when we think of innovation, it doesn't necessarily have to be very high tech. I'm a tech researcher, so I'm all for meeting people at where they are. I think one of the phone interventions was something they did in suburbs of Montreal. They did a lot of innovations of those kinds too, where people would call a friend thing, kind of a thing, for loneliness and isolation. And I've also noticed that I think one of the tricky things is, like, for example, Zoom calling and dialing. It's a little tricky, because you have to go call in, put the numbers, and then dial the meeting code. So you have a simple direct call line. Is that the case? That the direct call line that people connect, or do they have to push in any codes or anything?
So they need to enter in a passcode to access the program, but I believe it's dialable as well. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn about that.
Okay. Yeah, and another thing I've noticed when we run programs is a lot of I have some friends who had visual impairment, and they benefited a lot from these audio courses.
That's great
stuff. I loved it.
Thanks, Nam. I appreciate you sharing. I noticed there's a question from Allison as well. She asks, are you aware of any caregiver support related activities occurring in Senior Center Without Walls? And there are, Allison. I wonder if you could reach out to me directly. I can't recall specifically off the top of my head which programs are running caregiver support, but that's the great thing of having a network across the province and being able to access through a phone is we can access each other's programs, and we'd be happy to connect you with some programs who are running caregiver support. Great. Lauren has entered some information in chat about Mosaic Home Care, which is awesome. Thank you, Lauren. Appreciate that. I don't think I've seen any other questions in chat. If there, Carrie, anything else before we sign off and let everyone go for lunch today?
Not on my end, just thank you. This program is so important and we really appreciate your interest.
Absolutely. Thanks from both of us. Glad you were all here. We enjoyed our time together. Hope you have a great rest of the day. Thanks again for coming, and thanks for the organizers for giving us an opportunity to meet with all of you. Take care, everyone.